Okay, so let's pick up after the steamy stuff. Circe has Odysseus's men turned into pigs, and she just went to plan B. Um, and so after some cuddle time, I guess, she makes a meal for Odysseus, and he refused to eat it. And so we're going to pick up right here on page 176. Circe regarded me as there I sat disconsolate. Disconsolate means like sad and aloof. And I never touched a crust. Then she stood over me and chided me. Oh, why sit at table mute, Odysseus? Are you mistrustful of my bread and drink? Yeah. Can it be treachery that you fear again after the god's great oath I swore for you? Maybe. I turned to her at once and said, Circe, where is the captain who could bear to touch this banquet in my place? A decent man would see his company before him first. Put heart in me to eat and drink you may, by freeing my companions. I must see them. But Circe had already turned away. Her long staff in her hand, she left the hall and opened up the sty. I saw her enter, driving those men turned swine to stand before me. She stroked them, each in turn, with some new chrism. And then behold, their bristles fell away. The coarse pelt grown upon them by her drug melted away. And they were men again, younger, more handsome, taller than before. Their eyes upon me, each one took my hands, and wild regret and longing pierced them through. So the room rang with sobs, and even Circe pitied that transformation. Exquisite the goddess looked as she stood near me, saying, Son of Laertes and the gods of old, Odysseus, master mariner and soldier, go to the sea beach in sea-breasting ship, drag it ashore, full length upon the land, stow gear and stores in rock holes under cover. Return, be quick, bring all your dear companions. Red flag! By the way, your warning bells should be going off. You see what she's asking him to do right here? Drag his ship out of the ocean and put it way up on the beach, and then take all of his stuff and stow it under rocks. You would only do that if you planned on being there a while. A long while, right? Otherwise, you would want your ship ready to go. You wouldn't have it actually out of the water. But check out Odysseus's excuse here. He uses it over and over. Now, being a man, I could not help consenting. So I went down to the sea beach in the ship, where I found all my other men on board, weeping in despair along the benches. Sometimes, in farmyards, when the cows return well-fed from pasture to the barn, one sees the pens give way before the calves in tumult, breaking through to cluster about their mothers, bumping together, bawling. Just that way, my crew poured round me when they saw me come home. Their faces wet with tears as if they saw their homeland in the crags of Ithaca, even the very town where they were born. Don't lose sight of this. Right here, this comparing his men seeing him to baby cows when they see their mother cow, and they just, they start crying and they try to get to him. That's a Homeric simile, just that way. It's the same as saying like or as. Just that way my crew poured round me. That's what we give Homer credit for, is inventing that simile. So weeping, they all cried out in greeting, Prince, what joy this is, your safe return. Now Ithaca seems here, and we in Ithaca. But tell us now, what death befell our friends? And speaking gently, I replied, First, we must get the ship high on the shingle, and stow our gear and stores in clefts of rock for cover. Then come follow me to see your shipmates in the magic house of Circe, eating and drinking, endlessly regaled. They turned back, as commanded, to this work. Only one lagged, and tried to hold the others. Eurylochus it was, who blurted out, Where now, poor remnants? Is it devil's work you long for? Will you go to Circe's hall? Swine, wolves, and lions she will make us all. Beasts of her courtyard, bound by her enchantment. Remember those the Cyclops held. Remember shipmates who made that visit with Odysseus, the daring man? They died for his foolishness. Whoa. Eurylochus giving it to Odysseus. This might be Odysseus's first outright challenge to his leadership, right? You're going to go follow him up into a witch's house? Really? Remember what happened when people followed him into a Cyclops cave? It wasn't great. When I heard this, I had in mind to draw the blade that swung against my side and chop him, bowling his head upon the ground, kinsman or no kinsman, close to me though he was. But others came between, saying to stop me, Prince, we can leave him if you say the word. Let him stay here on guard. As for ourselves, show us the way to Circe's magic hall. So all turned inland, leaving shore and ship, and Eurylochus, he too, came on behind, fearing the rough edge of my tongue. Meanwhile, at Circe's hands, the rest were gently bathed, anointed with sweet oil, and dressed afresh in tunics and new cloaks with fleecy linings. We found them all at supper when we came. But greeting their old friends once more, the crew could not hold back their tears, and now again the rooms rang with sobs. Then Circe, loveliest of all immortals, came to counsel me. Son of Laertes and the gods of old, Odysseus, master mariner and soldier, enough of weeping fits. I know, I too, what you endured upon the inhuman sea, what odds you met on land from hostile men. Remain with me, and share my meat and wine. Restore behind your ribs those gallant hearts that served you in the old days, when you sailed from stony Ithaca. Now parched and spent, your cruel wandering is all you think of, never of joy after so many blows. As we were men, we could not help consenting. Lame excuse. So day by day we lingered, feasting long on roasts and wine, until a year grew fat. He spent a year doing what? Getting neck massages and eating grapes and cheese. Wow. Just wow, right? He's got a wife at home who's lonely, who needs him home. He's got a son that can't wait to meet him. And yet here he spent an entire year doing nothing but having fun. He obviously hasn't learned enough lessons to go home yet. But when the passing months and wheeling seasons brought the long summery days, the pause of summer, my shipmates one day summoned me and said, Captain, shake off this trance and think of home, if home indeed awaits us, if we shall ever see your own well-timbered hall on Ithaca. They made me feel a pang, and I agreed. That day and all day long, from dawn to sundown, we feasted on roast meat and ruddy wine, and after sunset, when the dusk came on, my men slept in the shadowy hall. But I went through the dark to Circe's flawless bed, and took the goddess's knees in supplication, urging as she bent to hear, "O Circe, now you must keep your promise. It is time. Help me make sail for home. Day after day my longing quickens, and my company give me no peace, but wear my heart away, pleading when you are not at hand to hear." The loveliest of goddesses replied, "Son of Laertes and the gods of old, Odysseus, master mariner and soldier, you shall not stay here longer against your will. Woohoo! Right? But home you may not go. Oh, boo. Unless you take a strange way round and come to the cold homes of death and pale Persephone. You shall hear prophecy from the rapt shade of blind Tiresias of Thebes, forever charged with reason even among the dead." Everybody would know who Tiresias of Thebes is. He's this famous prophecy giver. He's also in the underworld. So Circe has just said, you don't have to go home. Or you can't go home, actually. But if you want to go home, you have to go to hell first. Or the Greek version of hell. which is a little bit different than our Judeo-Christian idea of heaven and hell. Everybody goes to the underworld, including Tiresias. Oh, at this, I felt a weight like stone within me, and moaning pressed my length against the bed with no desire to see the daylight more. But when I had wept and tossed and had my fill of this despair, at last I answered her, Circe, who pilots me upon this journey? No man has ever sailed to the land of death. All right, so he breaks the news to his crew. She tells him basically how to build a portal to the underworld so he can talk to these ghosts. And for Odysseus in the ancient Greeks, this would have been way out in the Atlantic Ocean. So you would have to exit the Mediterranean Ocean, the known world, the Mediterranean Sea, through the Pillars of Hercules, which is the Straits of Gibraltar there, and out towards the edge of the world, which they assumed was somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. And once he gets there, he has to build this little sacrifice pit so that he can talk to ghosts. So he's not even close to going home. Let's take a look at the map. Okay, so Circe's palace is on Aia Island, E-I-E-I-O Island, and it's the wrong direction. It's west. He needs to go east back to Ithaca. He's going west. So put number 7 right here on the west side of Italy. And let's take a look at what we can write for her. So number 7 is Circe. She turns the men into pigs. And then Athena sends Hermes to protect Odysseus, gives him the moly, holy moly, in which she goes to plan B, cuddle time. And he stays there for an entire year. And I'm just going to add here, sends him to hell. Well, the underworld. So she sends him to the underworld, and from there he needs to find a specific ghost, Tiresias, which will tell him hopefully how to get back to Ithaca. Okay, that's the end of book 10. On to book 11.